Have you ever sat in a classroom and just wondered why you're learning what you're learning? Like, why the quadratic formula, but not how to do your taxes? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain and explore the hidden forces that shape our entire education system, from ancient philosophy all the way to modern psychology. Right. It's a question we've all had at some point. Is it the teacher? The principal? Some government office somewhere? The truth is, it's a super complex web of influences, and it all starts with a few really powerful ideas. So let's start at the very beginning, with the blueprint. I want you to think of an education system like a massive building. Now, before you can lay a single brick or pour any concrete, you absolutely need a blueprint, right? For education, that blueprint is philosophy. It asks the biggest, most fundamental questions you can imagine. First up is metaphysics. I know, it's a big word, but it basically just asks, what is real and what's the point of it all? In education, this translates to a massive question. What is the purpose of school? Seriously, is it to create a skilled workforce for the economy, or is it to help shape thoughtful, well-rounded citizens? The way a society answers that question changes everything that follows. Next, we've got epistemology, which is the study of knowledge itself. And this is where things get really tricky for educators. How do you actually know if a student has learned something? Is it because they aced a standardized test, or is it because they can show you a portfolio of creative work that proves they can think critically? There's no easy answer, and the path we choose really impacts what we value in the classroom. Then you have axiology, the study of values. And this brings us to a classic dilemma. You've got a student who puts in a ton of effort, just works their tail off, but still struggles to get the right answer. So what do you prioritize? The hard work or the correct result? The journey or the destination? How we answer that says so much about what our culture really values. And finally, there's logic, the art of reasoning. This is so important. This is where we stop just memorizing facts and dates and start teaching students how to think. How do you build a good argument? How can you spot bad reasoning? These are the skills that really empower students to become independent thinkers, which is pretty much the goal, right? Okay, so we have our philosophical blueprint. We've got the big ideas. But ideas alone don't build schools. To turn these abstract concepts into a real, functioning system, we need a legal framework. This is where we start pouring the foundation with laws and constitutions. Let's look at a real-world case study, the Philippines. Here, education isn't just a service the government provides, it's a full-blown constitutional right. That means it's a fundamental promise protected by the highest law in the land, and that has huge implications for how the whole system gets funded and managed. And this right hasn't just been static. It's evolved a lot over time. It started way back with a guarantee for free elementary school. Then, the focus shifted to making education relevant to the country's development. By 1987, it became a supreme right to quality education for all citizens. And more recently, reforms have pushed to give local schools more control and to get students ready for a globalized world with the K-12 system. So, the legal frame is in place. Now we've got to furnish the building. And that's the job of culture. Culture is what fills the space with all the unspoken rules, the traditions, and the behaviors that really define what it's like to be inside a school every day. You can think of culture as the unwritten rulebook for a school. It's the whole collection of beliefs, traditions, and social norms that guide how everyone, from students to teachers, is supposed to act. It's this invisible force that shapes the entire school experience. I mean, think about it. Every single classroom is a little mini society. It's a training ground for the real world. It's where we learn all those unspoken rules of social life, like taking turns, resolving conflicts, and working together. In that sense, school is one of the most powerful engines we have for passing on our culture. And this culture works on different levels. You've got your folkways. Those are the simple, everyday habits, like raising your hand to speak. Then you have mores, which are the bigger moral rules about right and wrong. Like why cheating is a really big deal. And finally, you have laws, the official, formal rules that have real consequences, like anti-bullying policies. All right, so we have the blueprint, the frame, and the cultural furnishings. But how does the learning actually happen inside the mind of a student? To answer that, we have to zoom in on the psychological machinery. When you look at the psychology of learning, two classic theories always pop up. Classical conditioning is all about how we learn through association. Like how the school bell rings and you immediately start feeling hungry, even before you smell food. Then there's operant conditioning, which is about how our behavior is shaped by rewards and punishments. You get praise for good work, you're probably going to work hard again. These ideas are kind of simple, but they're a great starting point. But of course, learning is way more complex than just bells and rewards. We're social creatures. We learn a ton just by watching and imitating other people. We're also cognitive beings, built to solve tricky problems. And maybe most important of all, we're driven by the law of effect, which is a fancy way of saying we're more likely to do things that lead to good results. That is the very engine of human motivation. So let's just take a step back and look at the big picture we've put together. We've gone from the super abstract world of philosophy all the way down to the inner workings of the human brain. And we've seen how all these different layers weave together to create this complex thing we call education. So what's the key takeaway here? Well, just think of the education system like a tree. Philosophy is the root system. It provides the why, the purpose. Law is the trunk. It provides the rules, the structure, and strength. Culture is all the branches and leaves. It creates the environment where learning can actually happen. And psychology? That's the mechanism. It's like photosynthesis, the process that actually creates and absorbs knowledge. Every single part is essential. So now that you see all these hidden layers, I want to leave you with a question. If you could change just one of these layers to improve the system for the next generation, which one would it be? Would you start with the philosophical roots, the legal framework, the cultural environment, or the psychological mechanisms? The answer isn't simple, but it's definitely a conversation worth having.